All right, so what we're looking at right now is an image of Ishmael Lowe's eye, and there are a number of reasons that we're looking at this, and they all relate to this metaphor of seeing and viewing as communicating, and I've been working with that idea a lot, and I've tried to turn that idea of seeing and being seen as communicating to the politics of representing for those of us who feel politically motivated and socially motivated to engage the recent decisions made by the Supreme Court to overturn the right of women to have any sort of semblance of control over their own bodies, to engage that, in as many political theaters of seeing and being seen as possible, and all of the metaphors this seeing and being seen might utilize and attempt to bring into a field of performative efficacy, and so this eye, and then this, which we see if we pan back a bit, is the back side of a CD, and whose front side looks like this, and the reason that we are looking at that image is it's one of the images of it's an image of one of the CDs, and the other CD is this one. Concrete blonde, and you see there are red and white roses on this one. And these two CDs I've chosen to respond to the space-time communication values that showed up today on our front page as views, and as a response to a reading of a poem. Let's see if I'll go back to the reading. Is this one. And when I say reading, in this case, I mean, you see there are red. I mean both a verbal rendering on this one, and these two CDs and interpretation. Now this number, space-time 17 views, was 16 views, and there was one thumbs up when I our front page as views. And as looked at the video, and then I of course in watching the reading, I of course changed these values, and then this became 17 to the reading. But I'm also responding in a certain way to this reading of Sawako Nakayusu's when I say soup. And reading, in this case, I mean. My first response to both a verbal rendering and a reading and interpretation. Now this number, let's see, that's Diogenes, 17 views. Of course. So was my first response 16 views, and there was one thumbs up to that reading of Girl Soup was to change the video, and then I of course in watching this video, I of course changed these values, and then this became 17, and the changes in this poem were in some ways I'm also responding in a certain way to this dialogue, and the changes begin right here. Nakayusu's Girl Soup with the ellipses, and then no, and
strike through, and then
these changes
lost in
run
translation.
my first response
all the way
to,
through the end. That's to the end of the poem.
And so my
So
first
getting,
response,
I didn't change lost in translation
to that
the
reading
explanation
of
following it
was
was
to
change,
of
course.
And so
After
my
something
first
perhaps
response to
things
change
William Blake said,
to that
which,
reading,
this, those of you
was
who are
to,
following along will recall was a reference to a reading of
was
a
to
Jim
change,
Morrison
and the
poem,
changes in this poem were
or actually
this
Jim Morrison
poem.
song,
Dialogue,
that was read as if it were a poem.
and the changes
by,
and the
Michael
changes
McClure
in this poem
interpreted
were
in that way,
dialogue,
along the
you know,
way,
considered dialogue.
Michael ellipses
and the
then
changes
reference
in,
of William Blake
strike
through,
right
and then in
here.
a number of different
These
ways.
changes
and,
run
and
all the way
the
through
ellipses,
the
as
end,
including a kind of like
the poem.
strike through.
So,
and then
I didn't
fairly
change all
the
the way
explanation
through
following
the
what we
end
would
to the
consider
end,
today
the
fairly
poem.
offensive.
After something, or perhaps
I
many
didn't
things
change.
William Blake said,
Which
the
explanation,
following
those of you who are following along will recall was a reference to
something,
a reading
perhaps
of a
many
Jim
things
Morrison
William Blake
poem,
said,
using
which
the expression Jim Morrison
those of you who are following along
that
will
was
recall
read
was
as
a
if it
reference
were a
to,
poem,
reading of
by
Jim Morrison poem,
aligning
McClure
McClure is that way,
Jim Morrison song,
and Jim Morrison
along the way
as if it were a
Michael
poem, by
referenced
Michael McClure
William
and
Blake
in that way, and a number of different ways, and
along the way,
and cited him
Michael
in a number of different ways, including a
referenced
kind of like
William Blake on
in a number of different
fairly,
ways, and cited
you
him
know,
in a number of different ways,
what
including
we
a
would
kind
consider
of like
today
fairly offensive,
fairly,
gendered, what we would consider today fairly
malignment
offensive, using the expression old maid, and
malignment
sort of aligning
using
McClure's
expression
old
and Jim
maid,
Morrison's
and,
masculine virility
sort of
together
aligning,
in this
McClure's,
he may not have been aware
and Jim
of,
Morrison's
masculine virility together
the,
in this he may not have been aware of, apparently,
the misogynistic
gesture of this
the misogynistic
alignment gesture of
sort of
this virile
insulting
alignment. Its antithesis
in this figure of
insulting the its antithesis in this figure of sexually inexperienced say it in quotation marks, old maid.
In some
sexually
ways,
inexperienced.
the use of Blake in
say
this,
it in quotation marks,
figuration
of,
and in some ways,
more than just poems, but in this figuration.
the use of Blake in this
that
we've been
figuration of
constructing,
more
moving
than
toward
just poems, but in this figuration
B
of
as
representations
a swarm of bees
we've been in high court.
constructing,
And that's
moving
specifically
toward
relating to
B
protests
as
in
a
D.C.
swarm of bees in high court,
and that's specifically relating to
have brought
protests
Blake
in
back
D.C.
in various ways, as well as some of the other tropes
have brought
Blake,
back.
but the use of Blake also
in
refers
various
to
ways
as well as some of the other tropes made in
the way that
but
he's used.
but the use of Blake
in
also refers
other
to
contemporary
poetry and poetics.
the way that he's used in other
fields,
contemporary,
let's say,
these,
poetry and poetics,
fields that exist in fields, let's say,
conceptual
these,
and
fields
and
that
virtual
exist
spaces,
as well as more traditional
conceptual and
virtual
spaces,
spaces, as well as
museums
more traditionally
and galleries,
spaces, texts, and
okay, so
libraries
that
and,
was
museums and
one of the
galleries.
ways that I responded to.
Okay, so that
space-time
was,
communication systems. Keeping in mind
one of
again,
the,
and I won't
ways
trace
that I
the numbers
responded
out,
to,
but what space-time communication systems. Keeping in
the
mind
space-time
again,
communication
and I
coordinate
won't
16
trace the numbers out, but what
one represents
in the in the construct as we
space-time
have
communication
currently
coordinate
articulated
16
is,
of course, the Neville brothers.
One represents in the
Album.
construct as we have currently articulated is, of course, the Neville brothers, Brother Blood,
And
album. Brother Blood, and the actually the album was called Brother's Keeper, but the song is called Brother Blood, and actually the album was called Brother's Keeper,
like in all
but the
Neville brothers
the
albums,
song
they,
is called
they,
Brother
they
Blood,
put the best first. That's the
and well, in my opinion,
like in all
strongest track
Neville
on the
brothers
album,
albums,
as is
they put the best first. That's the
as
well,
is
in my opinion,
My Blood, the
strongest track on
the
the
album,
album,
as is
also the initial song.
as
So,
is My Blood, the
keeping all of that
strongest track
in
on the
mind,
Yellow Moon album, which is also the initial song.
you know,
So,
as I said, you know, my response
keeping
was
all of
to,
that, in mind,
to alter this particular poem, and then again, you know, as I said, you know,
that plays into this idea of
the ongoing and open communication.
to alter this
that,
particular poem, and then
this
again, you know, way
that
of
plays
working
into this idea
as
of
poetry and
the
poetics,
ongoing and open
allows
communication. this particular
being published in book
way
form,
of working as a poetry and
doesn't
poetics
because of
the stasis
allows
and the
that,
being
and
published
the
in book
fixedness,
form,
right, of the form
doesn't
once it's
because
collected
of
and
the
distributed
stasis
in,
and the fixedness,
in
right,
that
of
particular
the form once it's collected and distributed in
solidified
that particular,
contact, as opposed to fluid contact, which this form remains solidified
in which
contact,
this
as
form
opposed to
remains
fluid contact.
All right, so
which,
that first response,
which this,
and you'll
this
see
form
how
remains
the fluidity
in which
this
this form
works.
remains open.
All right, so that first response, and you'll
first
see
response,
how,
right,
the fluidity
altered this number,
and so that's
which was 1 this morning when I woke up, and changed it to a 2. And then now looking at it and discussing it again and discussing the reasons for the changes has altered it once again to a 3, because seeing is communicating, and before discussing what the space-time communication coordinate 3, 1, 1, 3, the symmetry is nice there, but I would probably, if I'm looking at it, I would look at what the number 31.13 represents, and I would also look at what the number 311.3 represents, and go from there. But before doing all of that, let's go back to what this number was, which was 111.3, or at least that's the way that I interpreted it. I could have interpreted it as 11.1 or 11.13 or something else, but what this number was this morning represented this playlist, and the third tune here is this one, My Boy Builds Coffins by Florence and the Machine, and this particular tune could be relevant for a number of reasons, but it called attention in addition to the song to this particular playlist. And this is one of those redundant playlists, because all of the elements in this playlist as a set, are represented either in the playlist that follows or the playlist that follows that. And it's a selection of, I guess, some of my favorite songs, or songs that have the most intense or most relevant space-time communication coordinate values within these two sets, right? So it's easy to get from this set to this set by viewing once or viewing twice at whatever level you're on in the viewing to accomplish that. So this set is redundant and unnecessary. And as I've said before, I like to keep the number totaled at 340, and there are a number of reasons for that. And but I can change any one of the sets here. So I thought maybe as a response to that communicative coordinate that I would remove this set and replace it with something else. And that reminded me, because it is a redundant set, that at the very outset, and there was a reason for it at the time, but that reason no longer exists, but there are in fact two sets of the same exact album, Billie Holiday 20th Century Masters Millennium Collection, and exactly the same album. Let's see. All right, so both of those sets can be replaced, and thinking about the flowers and the coffins, I thought about this album, Concrete Blonde, an album called Bloodletting, which has I don't know if it's my favorite Concrete Blonde song, but it's one of them. It's called Caroline. And there are a number of reasons why I like that song, but I thought I could add this, particularly in relationship to, as a response to however we got to Florence, and this space-time communication coordinate, space-time travel communication coordinate. And third tune here is this one, My Boy Builds Coffins. I would do that. I'm not particularly good at adding and the machine or removing things from my playlist, because it involves this particular tune could
spelling
be relevant for
and
a number of reasons,
and transcribing,
but it called attention, in addition to the song, to
textual data,
this particular
which I'm not
playlist.
particularly
And this is
good
one
at,
of those
so,
redundant playlists,
we'll
because
accomplish that hopefully
all
sometime
of the elements
today.
in this
And
playlist,
then,
this playlist as a set,
I also
are represented
thought that,
either in the playlist that follows,
that I would add
or
this
the playlist
album,
that follows that.
and
It's a selection of, I guess, some of my
one of
favorite songs, or
the,
songs that
this is a really
have the
wonderful album
most
by
intense
Rhetorical.
or most relevant space-time
And,
communication coordinate values within these two
so if I can get
sets,
this to
right?
focus.
So
You can see that
it's easy to get from this set to this
that a
set
lot
by
of this,
viewing once or viewing twice at whatever level you're on,
a lot of this
in
work
the viewing
offers,
to accomplish that. So this set is
pretty
redundant and unnecessary. And as I've said
useful
before, I like to keep
set
the number
of terms
totaled
to work
at
with
340, and there are a number of reasons for that.
as a space-time travel communication.
And I want to say content, but in space-time communication messaging systems, content is always so much more than what we generally think of as content, because you have this meta content referring to seeing as communicating, if you know what the album or the CD cover looks like, and you have references to ways of writing and transcribing and all of this that exists in the musical and lyrical content, and then now of course you have the history of why making this particular
video, and this, set of space-time travel duration coordinates that exist right now on Friday, June 3rd, 8:01 a.m. And the fact that it's 8:01 is, in and of itself interesting, since that's a separate space-time communication coordinate, isn't it? So we go to Phil Manzanera, we in fact have an 8:01 designator that our space-time travel communication coordinate in this frame, right, is referencing, at this moment. So, content, as I said, it all becomes very elaborate once we throw into the mix time, and if we understand, time and space working together, it becomes even more elaborate. So, I accomplished, the first set of changes based on the communication coordinates, changing the poem represented in this particular video, and now I am going to add, as a response to that initial number, 1113, this video, and then also as a response to that, and the idea of seeing as communicating, this video too, and remove both that Florence redundant playlist and the Billie Holiday redundant playlist as a nod, to all of those constellations of signification made in that particular space-time communication coordinate message.